Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting startup founders share their stories and strategies. They also deliver tangible lessons learned along the way that you can apply to your own startup. Each episode is a true masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
Start the recording. This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my guest today is Preston Brown. Preston, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Glad to be here, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Man, you moved the prop. I mean, he had the most wicked looking prop right behind him just a second ago. It was this bat with like barbed wire around it, So I think it was like attitude correction for podcast hosts that get a little too nosy. So, man, thanks again for joining us. If you and I met at a networking event, how would you introduce yourself? And I am really interested in this question because I think you may have the biggest challenge of any guest I've had all year.
I generally just start with, my name's Preston. Good to meet you. What do you do? I'm going to try to let them start talking first. I'm going to try to get to know them a little bit because in my business, and I've got 18 of them now, when people say that question, what do you do? It becomes a very confusing way to answer it. And then you want to try to align to the person and build rapport. And, I own companies from home building to real estate brokerage to a travel agency for high net worth people. So more often than not, when I'm bumping into somebody, my first question is like, hey, how you doing? What brought you here? What's the outcome you're looking for? And you get to know a little bit about them. And then from there, like if there's any way you can add value to each other, it's gonna be expressed.
Man, that is a unique approach, and I much appreciated it, and just the kind of the humble start to our chat today. But so it's really interesting. You just kind of said this in passing. I've got 18 businesses. I mean, I think you win the award for most active businesses of any guest we've had in 4.5 years. So there's probably like a t-shirt got to come in the mail or something. But man, nobody just wakes up and says, I'm going to start 18 businesses. Let's take a step back and say, okay, what was that journey? What started the journey?
Well, what started the journey on business was, to go into a long story, and I'll try to keep it short. My dad got cheated out of a business. He wanted to chase the American dream, and he was a beautiful man, a brilliant guy. He was my hero. He was my stepdad. He was 6'6". He was broad-shouldered, star football player. That he was my hero. I wanted to be just like him. He quit his job, wanted to go and set our family free. I grew up in a little trailer park in Canutillo, Texas. And, my dad knew a lot about things. He was on a team where they made a car in the 80s. They got 1,500 miles per gallon. It never went more than 15 miles per hour to be fair. But he pioneered all these different things with these people that he worked with at a college he worked at. And when he opened his business, he knew a lot about engineering, a lot about creating things, a lot about making things, one of those gifts that entrepreneurs had. But he didn't have the gift of understanding human nature. He didn't understand billing. He didn't understand charging people what his time was worth. He didn't understand collections at all. And, I remember when he opened his business, he worked in this little shed outside of our mobile home. And we actually stole an air conditioner to put in there so that he wouldn't die in the El Paso heat. And so I'm 7 years old stealing an air conditioner, right? There's the beginning of my story. And, one day my mother lost her job about 3 months in, and money got scarce. He didn't know how to collect, as I said. And so the fight happened. My family had lots of love in it. We weren't used to the parents fighting. And I remember that cast iron frying pan gets thrown across the room and lodges into the cardboard-esque wall of the mobile home and then clanks to the floor. And I don't remember all the words that were said. They weren't very happy words. But I remember her saying, a real man can feed his family. Collect a check or don't come back. And I got in the truck. I was a charity piece. We drove up to a house not far from where I live now. And my dad went and confronted a man. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. Before we got there, I knew he was going to walk up to this guy, my 6'6" daddy. And here's this like 5'9" little like pipsqueak weasel of a man. My dad was going to demand his money. We were going to collect. We were going to go home. It was fine. But it didn't happen. It was very shocking to a 7-year-old kid to see your hero go from demanding to asking to groveling and begging and then to settling, collecting peanuts compared to what he was owed. And, we drove down to the local Smith's. It's an Albertsons now. And I got to ride back with a box of ramen noodles on my lap, and I got to see my hero cry. And he talked to me. He didn't know what to say, but he made me on that day, and I don't think he knew he was doing this. He made me a corporate machine. I mean, he made me between him and my mom was a counselor. She was very into psychology. She used to always say, figure out the game and figure out how you win. Everybody has a game. If you learn their game, you learn how to win, right? And that hit me. And then, of course, my dad's pain hit me, and everybody wants to heal the wounds of their father, the sins of the father, the sins of the son, and all that. Right? Well, that translated into me opening businesses, me being very money motivated, because I never wanted somebody to take advantage of me for money. I didn't care if I had to be hated, feared, loved. I mean, of course, you prefer love, but if you don't know how to get there, you don't want to be anybody's slave. And I truly believe that, not understanding money and lack of financial wealth leads you to, especially at the minimum wage level, something akin to slavery. And if you look at slavery and what it was bare subsistence, not enough money, basic shelter, like limited, if any, transportation.
It's like a modern day sharecropping almost.
Yeah. And that's what that is. And that's what my father was relegated to. So I became a corporate machine. I was the typical, Donald Trump-esque, you're fired kind of guy. And that went on till I was 2019 and fairly wealthy at the time. 2019, I lost my dad. He sat down in his favorite chair and went to sleep and didn't wake up. And it was a shift in paradigm. It took money from the meaning of life to, holy smokes, maybe it's love that's the meaning of life. Maybe there's something more than all this money. And I had some money. And what's really interesting is since 2019, and actually it was probably since 2017, 2018, where I really started connecting with family, but especially it was driven home in 2019 when that happened. My business has really started taking off. And I mean, just exponentially taking off, going from making hundreds of thousands, all of a sudden making millions, to one of them getting valuations in the hundreds of millions. And just, you kind of sitting there and you're like, is this really real? And you're sitting back, because everybody they'll overestimate a year all the time, but they underestimate a decade. And they don't realize that once you get the formulas right, once you get the hack right, it goes up. And once it's no longer transactional, that's the other thing. If everything is about, hey, I'm going to give you this and I get this, I mean, imagine that in your marriage. Oh, that'd be a pretty scary thing. If, hey, I give you this, you give me that. That's not called a marriage. It's called something else that we probably won't talk about here, right? So, I mean, you got to look, it's got to be more than transactional. And when it becomes a passion, then it becomes about love. And the businesses kind of become families. I mean, me opening all of these companies, I met my needs through money. And so I become exceptional in one area, and I'd see if I can go figure out a game in another area. And then I'd figure out a game in another area. And eventually you have a lot of areas. It's kind of like being a terrible parent with 4 kids. So you had like 5 more. And, so it stacks. And that kind of created this new challenge where I had to learn automation. And once you start figuring out business automation, businesses are the best assets in the universe. I mean, the real secret to getting wealthy is open a business. It's not buy real estate. It's not save your money. It's not invest in the stock market. Those are all good pieces of the pie. But the main ingredients in that pie is the business, because in a business today, you build that to $1 million in revenue and say it's $500,000 in profits. Say it takes you a year to get there. Well, even if you're working day to day in that business, you could probably sell it at a 3.5 times multiple of your net income, which
or
is
more.
$1.5 bucks. So you literally generated your profits in that year, plus $1.5 million if you sold it. That's 1 year to $2 million. I mean, that's not a terrible situation. And that $2 million, people could retire on that these days. So having the formula right, my journey started with my dad, and I think every real journey does start with a family member. But my dad was my best teacher when I was young, and he became an even better teacher when he left and taught me the biggest lesson, that money is not the meaning of life, it's love. So, if you're not loving,
sometimes though, what you talked about, and I don't want to go back to kind of that early start. I mean, sometimes the best teachers are also learning what not to do. I mean, he probably also showed you along the pathway things that, I will not do that when I have that opportunity. But it is interesting. I mean, because you didn't know those lessons without having to learn them kind of on the hard road to education. So walk us through kind of that early process. I started my first business. I was washing cars. I was selling candy bars. I was, fill in the blank, and just walk us through quickly what that kind of rough journey was before you finally had that aha moment.
I mean, heck, and honestly, it wasn't even a rough journey. It just started kind of I'd say middle school time, we would go to Grandy's every night because my mom was going to school and doing the traditional thing of get an education, get a good job, build a retirement, and that's how you get free, right? And every time we go to Grandy's, I would grab handfuls of these little lemon juice packets. And so this was my first education on building a brand and something like that. And I liked the lemon juice packets. Like they were kind of suck it up and it'll sour in your face. And it was kind of an experience, right? These lemon juice packets, I'd take them to school and I'd be sucking up these lemon juice packets and having that like pucker face. And the other kids would be like, I want to try one. And I'd start giving them the lemon juice packets. And I'd be like, well, can I have another one? I'd be like, 10 cents. and I was never the kid that had the money for the ice cream man later on that day. So, and so all of a sudden I'm there at the ice cream truck with all the rich kids after school. And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So if I give these lemon packs that I just took from Grandy's, well, so that turned into, I took a lot more lemon packs. And so my business, I guess, started as a kid stealing.
Grandy's was like going, how can we go through so much lemon?
Well, and it actually happened. The manager caught me one day and he was like, is this why I'm going through a box a week of lemon juice? And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, well, dude, like, what are you doing with them? Like, and I'm like, well, I'm selling them. And he was like, okay. And he was a really cool guy. I guess he was my first business mentor, if you want. And he was like, look, man, this box cost me $6. So I don't remember the number, but it was a couple bucks. And he was like, there's probably 500 of them in here. So, I don't know what you're selling them for, but if you're selling them for, heck, 10 cents, you can make money. Like, right. So I gave him $6. I think my mother loaned me $6 and I gave him $6 and I bought the box. And so now I'm buying lemon juices and I'm selling those lemon juice packs at school. And I'm going through a box a week. Then I start going through 2 boxes a week. And then I'm enlisting a friend to sell lemon juices for me. And I'm splitting it with him. So I'm commissioning him for to sell more lemon juices. And of course that ended as quick as it started because it was just a fad, but I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like, so we built a brand around this thing and then everybody had a problem that they wanted more. And I started selling a solution to their problem. And so that got me excited about problems. And one day I was talking to somebody or other and they were complaining about builders. And every builder puts house numbers at different parts of the house. Like one might put it near the garage, one puts it near the front door. And this is, before GPS was a big thing. They're like, yeah, it's really stupid. Like, how's the fire engine going to find the house if there's a problem? Like, maybe the street, and obviously if it's fire engine, it might be on fire. But what if somebody had a heart attack? You want to know which address, right? And so I thought about that, and I was like, well, some houses they have it like painted on the curbs, and gosh, that seems to be a smarter approach. And so I started walking up and down streets when I was in high school, and this became my real business education because this is where I actually made some money. And we were doing like 200 houses a weekend.
Wow.
$10 a house. And we get 4 guys and I'd pay each of them like $100 and I'd run up and down selling and these guys would be painting or helping me sell or whatever they were doing. And we'd make $2,000. I'd walk out of that weekend with $1,600 and I'm in high school. And when we got lazy, we'd go do 50 houses.
And you had the nicest car in the parking lot.
Oh my gosh, man. I had the only car amongst my friends, right? So yeah, and I paid for my car. And I remember my mother, like one day she lost her job. She's like, maybe I'll go to work for you. And I'm 13. I'm thinking, maybe. and so anytime you're selling anything, like say your listeners are startup entrepreneurs. Nobody buys something unless they're moved to buy it. Okay, they have to have an emotion around it. So your sales pitch needs to generate an emotion. And that emotion, it becomes kind of problem, solution, problem, right? So problem, you're presenting a problem. If you're not willing to talk about problems, and we live in an interesting age. We live in a time where the biggest problem we have in our society right now, Kevin, is we think we shouldn't have any problems. And that's a huge issue. And entrepreneurs, they get excited about problems. They love problems and they love solutions and they build machines that create those solutions. And then they scale those machines and make those machines larger and they make the world a better place by providing those solutions. And normally the cost of producing that solution is less than the price you sell it for. And that's where you get a margin and that's where you get freedom. And you can create jobs and opportunities because most people probably don't want the risks associated with creating that big machine or small machine, whatever you're creating. Most people just want to go to work. But if you like solving problems and you like creating wealth and you like making money, then you have to start linking, well, earning money equals slavery. We are made in God's image, I believe. And I think if we're going to look at in God's image, God didn't earn any of us. I mean, he created us. And so we should probably all stop earning as fast as we can and start creating. But the only way you're going to create is by building a system that solves a problem. And so if you realize that the sale is the solution, and when you go and talk to that customer, you genuinely, like authentically and really love helping, like, and let me dive off into a little squirrel path here. Every guru I've ever heard talk says, oh, you gotta hustle your way to success. It's such a lie. I mean, and the best lies are seeded with just an ounce of truth. I mean, you do have to hustle to become successful, but you have to be passionate to be willing to hustle long term. Otherwise, it will be work and you will be exhausted. So passion is cause, hustle is effect. Then you're going to have enough love. You've fallen in love with solving this problem to continue doing that labor of love and the work required to get there. So, you know, as you're looking at meeting this customer and authentically telling them about their problem, that's what you have to do if you're selling. You have to tell them they have a problem, and you should probably try to do it in an authentic, genuine, kind, and loving way. Then you tell them there is a solution and there's lots of options for you to solve it. And I have one of them, and here's my story. And, you know, facts may tell, but stories sell, and you tell them your story. And the next thing you know, they're trusting you. You have rapport. And that rapport, they're not buying your product. They're buying a solution to their problem. And they're buying into you because they trust you. And so that's kind of where the startup starts. The sale becomes the solution. The solution becomes the gift that they have, and potentially a referral customer that's now sending you more leads and then building your business. And then there's not enough time for you to serve everybody. So you know what you have to do? You have to raise your prices. Why? Because how do we measure price? By demand. If you have too many customers, it's why economics works, right? Like when there's not enough supply, prices go up because there's too much demand for the supply. So demand dictates pricing. And so then all of a sudden you're making more money. Well, now you hire that second person, that third person, that fourth person, then that's called scaling. Now there's more people solving the problem for people. But now it's probably not that these people are ever going to be able to deliver the way you have. You better be able to create a true brand identity. And that's where you start learning about how to build a cult. So you want to get into the interesting side of business. Every business leader that's a good business leader is really a cult leader. Do you know what are the first four letters in the word culture?
Cult.
Interesting, right? And what is a cult? I mean, we all think of David Koresh. We think of Waco, Texas. We think of something terrible. And that's where the human brain tends to go. But it's not like, yeah, it's great to look at the bad, but we should also look at the good. If you're going to look at what is a culture, it's a group with a similar identity. And they're generally passionately loyal to that identity because they solve a problem. So when you build that culture and that cultish loyalty within your team around solving the problem, then all of a sudden, everybody's trying to build their brand with their customer. Stop. Build your brand with your team. Your team will build your brand with your customer. Then when people see that and feel that and that resonates, oh my gosh, you start exploding and you get to a different level of the journey where you have to learn to stop being exceptional, start being optimal, and et cetera, et cetera. It keeps going.
But your formula that you mentioned earlier has an extra element to it. I mean, you said problem, solution, and then problem. So talk about that. I've never had that second problem being added to problem solution is a pretty common, formula, but you added a third element. So tell us about that variable.
Well, so problem, solution, problem is you want to leave them with a problem. Okay. And the reason you want to leave them with a problem is problems are gifts. And so the initial problem is you're just mentioning there is one. Okay. You're starting in your, and that's a piece of the formula. It's not the whole formula. I mean, the real formula is that's how you bring up the problem. You bring up the problem, you have a solution, and then you go back to the problem. Because not every sale is one day. Right. Like I got married, right? And I'll tell you what, when I met her, when I first saw her, I was ready. She wasn't. It took a little longer to sell the idea. Okay. Like my wife's an amazing woman and I'm a great salesman, but one day didn't work, Kevin. So, I had to put a problem, solution, problem process in there to where she's thinking, man, maybe he is, but like sometimes people need a little time to question, time to think. So the other part of the formula is like you want to build rapport, you want to tap into their heart, you want to sell heart to heart. Okay. I mean, even if you're not doing it in person, some folks are gonna be like, well, I do an online business. Cool, do a webinar, film yourself, and build rapport when you're filming yourself. Like people are going to listen to your podcast. You know, it's not going to be happening. We're not going to be speaking live for probably most of the people that listen. They're going to hear us talking, and it's recorded. And some will say, you know what, I don't like that guy. He sounds crazy. And others say, man, that guy's awesome. I really like what he's saying. And so you're going to build rapport with some. You're not going to build rapport with all, but frankly, haters are your fans too. They just advertise you in a different way, right? So you want to build rapport. That's the first step, is heart to heart sales. Next step is you want to give them something to think about. You want to put something in their head. So if you're going to go in heart first, you're going to go head second. And when I say think about, you're creating a question. You're putting a question in their mind. Then you give them hands, something to do with that tool. Like the best salesman in the world is making you experience the product. He's giving you an emotion. Okay, so the hands piece is the emotion. If you go down to the Tesla dealership today and you can't afford a Tesla, but you test drive a Tesla and you put it in ludicrous mode, and the salesman's going to pull you off into an alley and he's going to make you just hit the gas. And you are going to launch in a way that no McLaren or Ferrari will have ever launched you, in what looks like a soccer mom car. And you're going to be like, holy smokes, I have to have one. Like, I own a Tesla. It's a Model X. It looks like a tick. It looks like a giant blood-sucking animal. It is not a sexy, beautiful car. It's a big tick. You know, like, I pulled these things off my dogs. Like, it's ugly. And I'm sorry, Elon, I really admire you if you ever listen to this podcast, but like, it's an ugly car. But I had to buy one, because when I got to experience that, I'm a sports car guy, right? I have a Corvette. It's got like, I don't know, 800 horsepower on the block, more than 600 at the tires. Like, it's a powerful car. And I've modified the heck out of it, and it can't do what the Tesla can do, 0 to 60. I mean, it can get to 210, 220 miles an hour, but who's doing that every day, right? Mm-hmm. So in traffic, the Tesla's a better vehicle. And so they're hitting you at that part where you're getting an emotional attachment. And then you go back to this heart portion of sales where you're like, look, there are many solutions. Part of the sales process with all of my companies is we're going to make it 100% your decision. We're going to end, and we're going to kind of, depending on whether we're selling to a man or selling to a woman, we're going to hit 3 things. There's 3 things you must never do to a woman. You never make her feel unseen, make her feel unsafe, or make her feel misunderstood. But what if you, with your product, make her feel understood, make her feel seen, and make her feel safe? Like, if you're showing a new home that you just built to a woman, you probably shouldn't be talking about how much you're going to save on your taxes because of this, that, and the other. The man might care about that, but you might go ask her, I want you to feel this kitchen. How does this kitchen feel to you? Like, just imagine the kids playing over there. Like, give her an experience behind it, right? Because why is she buying that? She's buying that for her family. She's buying that for her children. So you have to have some top of mind thought where, like, hey, I'm going to walk a mile in that person's shoes. And for a man, you never make them feel criticized. You never close off emotionally to them. And you never make them feel controlled. So we're going to put them in 100% control. And then we're going to do this other thing. We're going to compliment them. Man, you are so smart for buying right now. You know, with all these rising interest rates, a lot of people think they're more married to the rate. They're not. They're married to the house. You could get a better deal on a house today than you could 3 months ago. So you're going to save 10 or 20 grand. Once the government's done with all these rate hikes and their quantitative tightening, they'll probably go into quantitative easing like every other cycle ever. You're going to refinance this. Yeah, you're probably going to pay a little more, but man, you're so smart right now. I wish I was smart enough to do this, because I paid probably an extra 50, 60 grand on my house. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, I'm amazing, right? So you complimented him, right? Instead of criticizing. You open emotionally, you're playful, you're fun. Like part of our sales process with everyone is we ask this question. Hey, can I be authentic? Do I have to be politically correct, which I think means dishonest? Or can I just tell you about our product, tell you how people live? Like we'll have some fun, and we have a bunch of jokes around every different part of it, and there's stories, and then some of them they can be a little bit crazy. Like, you know, we have a sign outside of one of our home builder products that says size does matter. Now, we build bigger homes, but that's not necessarily where everybody's brain goes. And so it's playful, it's fun, it's ridiculous. And so we ask, can we be authentic? We give a fun sales pitch. There's jokes, there's all this stuff. And then we leave them in complete control. We're like, look, here's the agreement. What I want you to do is look at it. Notice this last paragraph. You have 7 days to back out for any reason. You get all your money back. Right now, what I want you to do, because it's a hot market, control the real estate. You're in complete control. But yes, I'm going to give you this agreement. Yes, we're going to register it today because this house is yours today. I want you to go shop everything in the market. I want you to check it all. And I want you to prove me right or prove me wrong. I already know you're going to prove me right. I know you're going to fall in love with this product, but I want you 100% in control. Do you know how many people actually go shopping after they sign that? None. Very few. Like maybe 1 in 10. And so when they're in control, when you've gone heart, head, hands, heart, when you've gone problem, solution, problem, a lot of them sign that day. Now, when you honor them as a man and a woman, the way they are, and say, hey, you know, I want to make you feel seen, understood. I want to make you feel safe in this product, you know, like, and you build your stories and you build your sales processes around that. And then every sales process also should have stories in it. If you don't have stories in your sales process, then you're missing the point on human nature, where we have kind of sat behind or around campfires for, 40,000 years of our ancestors' history, listening to what? Stories. So we're a little influenced by them. I mean, if you think about every movie ever written, there's a hero, right? Like the hero is a guy with a problem.
Journey. Yep.
And there's the guide compels action. Hero succeeds or fails, and then you have the ending. Like that, I'm sorry if I just screwed up every single movie for you for the rest of your life. It's the same movie over and over again. Different hero, different guide, same movie. You have to have a story pattern where, what's the company's journey? What's this? You go heart, head, hands, heart, and then you go problem, solution, problem. And even the ones that think about it come back, because nobody else takes the time to do that. So when you apply formulas, whether it's formulas for selling or formulas for marketing, and you look at, okay, well, hey, shoot, in this company, I need to have enough leads. So I should have formulas around marketing to get leads. I need to have enough sales from those leads, formulas around this. I need to have the capacity to deliver on my product promises, because every time you sold something, what you made was a promise. Okay. And not that you can't make mistakes. In fact, a lot of times, if you make a mistake and then you fix it, they like you even more. Like, because they're like, oh man, this all went wrong and I got so scared. And they came in and said, you know what? We're going to take care of this. And then you have the ability to collect and cash flow. And part of the problem, solution, problem is they remember the problem.
Yep.
And when they remember the problem, they remember the journey. You were the guide, they were the hero. You took them on a journey. They start referring you. That problem becomes part of their story. They're staying with you for the rest of your life. Right here, you bought real estate inside their head. They're your best marketing out there. And so problem, solution, problem. I hope that answers the question. It's kind of a long form answer.
No, absolutely. There were so many things that generated, just kind of these tangential questions I want to continue to ask you, but I'm curious about just your business creation process. So I know if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail sometimes. So if you're a serial entrepreneur, everything looks like an opportunity. So, you probably have this gear spinning all the time, but is there a concise process that you put ideas through that you think would be a good help to somebody that does see a lot of opportunities like yourself?
So let me give you a litmus test. So yeah, I have a litmus test for business, and this litmus test works 100% of the time. And I have a formula. Anybody can reach out to me. We've got the formulas all documented. You put a problem at the top of the formula, it filters through. You know exactly what to do in your business. But a lot of people started asking me, well, what if it's not in my business? Can I use this in my marriage, or can I use this in this? And I started thinking, I don't know. And you know what? We tested it, and you can't. It works sometimes. It works 100% of the time in business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes outside, it's not designed for that though. It's like, hey, could I take my truck off-roading? Yes, but if you went and bought a Polaris, it's more designed for it. The truck might do it, but it's probably not the right tool. So there's a litmus test for business, and my formulas work 100% of the time in business. But to be considered a business, you have to pass through 3 filters that I call the litmus test. 1, there needs to be profitability. Now, when I say profitability, you need to have profitability, not profit. Okay. So when you're looking at profitability, when you're a startup, there's no profits. You might go out and actually invest money and you have not made any money yet. So there's profitability, not profit yet. So either have profit or a plan for profit, and that equals your profitability metric, right? 2, you need to have productivity. Productivity is critical. Productivity, right now in this current event, we have everybody talking about politicians, we have everybody talking about economics, we have everybody talking about all this. Do you know what the foundation to every single economy anywhere on earth is? Production.
Yep.
Like, I don't care what people say about oil, this, that, or the other. Like, oh, we shouldn't have, we need to kill the oil and gas industry. Okay, but if we're going to kill the oil and gas industry, we're really just going to go buy it from Iran and Saudi Arabia and Venezuela and everywhere else, because we still need the production. Because you're either going to get the production here, or you're going to get the production somewhere else until you've replaced it. Now, I'm not against replacing it, but we should at least replace it before we kill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe you don't sell your car until you have another one selected that you're going to buy, right? Like, keep the lights on. But productivity is the foundation of every economy everywhere. If there's not production, it's not a business. If there's not some moving part creating some function of value to somebody that is having a solution delivered to them that you're delivering, you're the problem solver, then there's no production. And next, purpose. And when I say purpose, like, can I tell you who annoys me more than anybody on this planet? My wife. My wife loves to jab me and annoy me and hustle me and hassle me, and I am so in love with her, and she is my purpose. I put up with more crap from that woman than any other woman on the planet, and she puts up with more crap from me, to be perfectly fair. I mean, we are a very playful bunch, and we have a lot of fun with each other, but she gives me a lot of stress and a lot of love. Your business is gonna do that. It's no different than a relationship like a marriage or a children. I mean, like, everybody loves kids, right? Like, tell me how much you enjoy diapers. Like, I just want you to breathe in, take a deep breath, and tell me that you enjoy diapers, Kevin. Nobody's gonna say yes, but you love the kid, right? Like, your child is beautiful. That's like a tiny little diamond encrusted angel sent to you by God, and then they poop, and you're like, ooh, what the heck is that? You made that. You're not an angel right now, but you changed it because you love them. So the best things in life come with problems. I mean, problems are gifts. I mean, what are the best moments of your life, Kevin? I'll bet you overcame adversity in those moments, huh?
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. And I mean, man, that'll preach. I mean, you got 3 P's, you got three points to your sermon, and they all begin with the same letter. But I just love the process. I mean, and when you talk about purpose, does passion come into play kind of in the purpose side of things? Does it matter that you care about what you're doing?
So yeah, passion and purpose.
It's kind of integrated together.
They're two parts of the same whole. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, the 2 rules to be successful. There's only 2. I mean, there's a million different ways to say this, right? But everybody's got a different analogy, and here's one of them, right? 2 rules. You want to be successful, you got to follow these 2 rules 100%, Kevin. 1, work as if you cannot trust in God. 2, trust in God as if you cannot work. You do those 2 things, it's going to meet you in the middle. God's going to be right there. You're going to be walking. Sometimes he'll be carrying you the other times, right? So it's kind of one of those like, that's like a little paradoxical, and like take the P's, like, let's have fun with them real quick, right? Because any formula, if you can't test it, is not worth its salt. So let's remove purpose. Let's remove passion. Like, we just wired some money today. We're buying another apartment community. We're buying a lot of apartments right now. We think that's a good investment. You know what I don't care about? That deal. I'm doing it for the tax benefits. I'm doing it for the cash flow. Like, if I had to go run the apartments, I wouldn't buy it. Yeah. I'm not excited about it at all, but I understand the economic fundamentals of it, and I have the excess capital that I'll invest in it. Now, there's definitely productivity. There's a product, there's production, that people are getting housing, there's solutions to problems. I mean, there's definitely a business there for somebody, but for me, I'm an investor. I remove my purpose. I am an investor. Like, and there's lots of people out there that are like putting these deals together. I'm just an investor in other people's deals because I have no passion behind it. It's not for me. Now, so if there's no passion, it's an investment. Well, what happens if there's no profitability? Like, say you are passionate about golf. Hobby. It's a hobby. Now, if one day there's profitability beginning to come in, if you're Tiger Woods, that's a business now. All of a sudden, you're a brand. Like, you being good at golf is going to get you all these, deals where they're going to put you on Wheaties boxes and this, that, and the other. Like, all that became a business, right? Now, what if you're passionate, right? Like, you're very passionate about it, and there's profitability, but there's no productivity. You're a con artist. You're cheating people.
Yep.
And so anytime you remove even one of the P's, and I love it because like now we've started building the social media brand. We've got a couple 100,000 followers across different sites. And I get outreach like on Instagram every day. That's like, I'm going to sell you this, or I'm going to do this. And I like to ask questions that are related to how to figure out, okay, is there productivity? Is there purpose? Is there, profitability at the other end? And you can root out who's a con artist and who's this and who's that real quick by asking these 3 questions. So the litmus test is not just, do you have a business? The litmus test is also the person trying to get you to give them money. Do they have a business?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love that process, and it's simple enough that you can do it, pretty quickly. You can assess ideas and opportunities, very quickly, and and do due diligence at the same time. But and I could just continue to ask you questions all day, but I know you got to step into whatever your next thing is today. But man, where's the best place that people can learn more? That you certainly tweaked their interest in this podcast. So where's the best place that they could catch up with you? And what's a good way to connect?
My Instagram or my TikTok or my Facebook, they're all the Preston Brown. I wanted to just get Preston Brown. I didn't want to put a the in front of it, but there was no way somebody else that was way more handsome than me, this big, buff, black professional football player, beautiful man, he stole my name. I think he might be older than me.
Beat you to it.
So he beat me to my name.
Yeah.
And so he took that. So I got to be the Preston Brown. I got like a little surname thing going. But the Preston Brown on any of the social medias, look me up. I put out all this content. We have all the formulas, everything. We give it away. Some folks do reach out and say, oh, can I get coaching? And yeah, we've got coaching opportunities too, but the content is there. And it's all there, and it's there for you to use for free. So if you're a young entrepreneur or an older entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. At any stage that you're in, you can go there and figure out, how do I get to the next level? Or how do I transition? How do I sell this company? How do I do this? All the content's there, and it's all free. And then if people do want the coaching, just message us, and I can connect you with our team and get you set up for that too.
We can go from there. Well, man, I appreciate you just taking time today and putting your weapon of mass destruction away at the before we hit the record button. But man, thank you again for just taking time and entertaining us and informing us all at the same time, and really just playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Preston, thanks again. Have a great weekend.
Have an amazing day on boat.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.